Do you ever find yourself, caught in that relentless cycle, just pure busy?
Oh, constantly. Yeah.
You're always moving, ticking off tasks, answering emails, just navigating this endless stream of digital stuff, right?
Hmm.
Yet at the end of the day, there's this sort of quiet, nagging feeling, like unfulfillment.
Yeah, like what did I actually do today that mattered?
Exactly. It's as if life itself is just accelerating past you, and you're not truly living it. You're just maybe watching it, or maybe just enduring it.
That feeling really resonates, I think.
Well, if it does resonate with you, then you've definitely landed in the right place for this deep dive.
It's more than just a feeling for a lot of people, isn't it? It's almost the default mode for modern life.
That's true.
We're just wired for constant input, constant output. We often mistake all that activity for actual progress.
Right. Busyness equals importance.
Or we think chasing more is the same as finding genuine fulfillment. The irony, of course, is that this frantic pace often leaves us feeling more disconnected, more depleted than actually accomplished.
That sentiment just perfectly captures what we're diving into today. We're confronting this really pervasive modern issue, but we're doing it with insights that are, well, anything but new.
Definitely not new. Ancient, in fact.
We're going back, way back, over 2 millennia to the profound wisdom of the Stoic philosopher Seneca. Specifically, his incredibly powerful and frankly kind of startlingly relevant essay on the shortness of life.
A powerhouse text. Still speaks volumes today.
But you know us, we won't stop there. To really unpack Seneca's timeless message, we're drawing from a rich global tapestry of sources.
Right.
We'll explore Eastern philosophies, Buddhism, Taoism, yoga. We'll connect with modern spiritual guides like Eckhart Tolle and Julia Cameron.
And even touch on some fascinating findings from psychology and anthropology, too.
Exactly. It's a wide net.
And what we'll find, I think, is this remarkable consistency. Ideas popping up across different traditions, different eras. Seneca's Stoic principles, when you look at them through these other lenses, they reveal this sort of universal call, a call to reevaluate our relationship with time, and maybe more importantly, with our own lives.
So our mission today, then, is to really peel back the layers of Seneca's radical argument. And it is radical, truly provocative. It might just flip your whole understanding of life on its head.
It certainly challenges the common narrative.
He basically argues that life isn't inherently short. Instead, we are the ones who make it short. How? By squandering most of it.
A tough pill to swallow, maybe, but worth considering.
We'll delve deep into his powerful call to live deliberately, to be, ruthless in protecting our precious time for what truly matters.
That idea of being ruthless with time is key.
And to embrace each day with profound intentionality, treating it, as if it were our last. So settle in.
Yeah, get comfortable.
This deep dive, it's designed to provoke you, maybe challenge you a bit, and ultimately, hopefully, inspire you to fundamentally reconsider your relationship with time, with your attention, and with what it genuinely means to live a well-invested life.
Okay, let's jump right in where Seneca does, with a statement that really has the power to just stop you in your tracks.
It definitely does that.
Especially if you, like so many of us, often find yourself complaining about how incredibly fast time seems to fly by.
The constant refrain, where did the year go?
Exactly. Seneca, on the Shortness of Life, he doesn't really mince words, does he?
Not at all. He's blunt.
He provocatively declares, life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous portion has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested.
Boom. Just lays it out there.
Now, just think about that for a second. It's a direct, almost confrontational counter-argument to that common complaint that life is simply too brief.
Right. The idea that there's never enough time.
That we can't possibly do all we want to do. Seneca says, hold on a minute. It's such an audacious opening, isn't it? What Seneca's doing here is fundamentally reorienting our whole perspective.
How so?
Well, he's not suggesting some people magically live longer lives, in terms of years.
Right.
Rather, he's shifting the focus entirely from the quantity of our years to the quality of our moments.
Quantity versus quality.
Precisely. His central thesis is that the issue isn't some inherent scarcity of time. It's not that the universe shortchanged us.
Okay.
It's our profound mismanagement of it, our misdirection of it. We perceive life as short, not because its duration is insufficient.
But because we waste it.
Exactly, because we squander our days, our hours, our very existence on pursuits that don't genuinely nourish our spirit or contribute to what he calls our highest achievements.
Highest achievements. That's interesting phrasing.
It is. It implies purpose, meaning, virtue, not just busy work. He vividly describes us as losing life rather than actively living it.
Losing life.
It's a critical distinction. It challenges us right now to examine how we spend our most precious, non-renewable resource.
Losing life instead of living it.
Wow. That phrase really cuts deep because for so many people, that feeling of a constant rush, a blur of activity without real engagement, that is the norm.
It's the hamster wheel.
We're perpetually doing without ever truly being. So if life isn't inherently short, and we are in fact losing it, what exactly is Seneca suggesting we're doing? How are we wasting this supposedly generous portion of time?
Well, Seneca is incredibly precise in his critique. He doesn't just vaguely complain. He details this whole list of pursuits that he labels endless distractions and superfluities.
Superfluities, like unnecessary things.
Exactly. Things that consume our time without truly enriching our lives. He talks about insatiable souls.
Insatiable souls.
People constantly chasing after more money, more possessions, higher status, or just endless forms of entertainment. Distraction, basically.
Sounds familiar. Doesn't it just... He offers this really striking image. He says that life's necessities are found even in places of exile. Superfluities, not even in kingdoms.
Wow. Okay, unpack that. Necessities even in exile, but superfluities not even in kingdoms.
Think about it. Basic needs, food, shelter, maybe some companionship. You can technically find those almost anywhere, even in the harshest conditions, right?
Yeah.
But the desire for more, for the non-essential, the luxury, the status symbol, that desire is endless. Even if you're a king with infinite resources, that desire for superfluities can never be fully satisfied because it's not based on need.
It's a psychological thing, not a physical one.
Precisely. It underscores the idea that our fundamental human needs are relatively simple. They're easily met. The real drain on our time, on our spirit, comes from this insatiable desire for more, for things that are, by definition, not necessary. They're the endless add-ons, the optional extras we convince ourselves we absolutely need.
That image, finding necessities in exile but not superfluities in kingdoms, it's incredibly evocative. It makes you think about all the mental and emotional energy we pour into things that ultimately don't sustain us.
Right. And Seneca doesn't stop there. He delves deeper into the psychology of this insatiable soul.
Okay.
He observes with almost chilling accuracy that just as no amount of fluid will satisfy one whose craving arises not from lack of water, but from burning internal fever.
A burning internal fever.
So no amount of external accumulation, no amount of stuff or status will ever truly satisfy an unexamined desire.
Wow. That hits hard today, doesn't it? With consumer culture and the constant chase for more.
Absolutely. It feels like he's describing the 21st century, that belief that if we just acquire one more thing, get that promotion, reach that next goal, then we'll finally be content.
But it never quite works out that way.
It often remains elusive, right? A moving target. Because the problem isn't external lack, it's the burning internal fever.
So that burning internal fever, that's the real crux of it.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely critical. Seneca's basically saying it's not the absence of things that makes us feel poor or unfulfilled. It's the endless craving for them.
The wanting itself.
Yes. Think about that fleeting high you get after a new purchase, or the momentary satisfaction of, say, a promotion. Seneca argues that if that craving, that desire, isn't examined, if we don't understand its root,
It just latches onto the next
exactly, it just shifts to the next target, creating this perpetual cycle of desire, temporary satisfaction, then renewed desire, and ultimately dissatisfaction. He calls this a vice in our desires.
A vice. Strong word.
It is. He argues that if we continually exceed nature's bounds in what we crave meaning, wanting far more than what's natural or necessary, then poverty, a feeling of lack, will pursue us no matter how rich we become externally.
So you can be incredibly wealthy but still feel poor inside.
Precisely. The key insight for us today is that true contentment, true inner wealth, isn't about getting more stuff. It's about shifting our desires away from those external acquisitions.
Towards what then?
Towards internal states of being. Things like peace, wisdom, virtue, genuine connection. Things that can't be bought, can't be used up.
That makes sense.
It's a profound psychological insight, really far ahead of its time, recognizing that internal discontent, not external lack, drives this endless, often futile striving.
So it's less about the world being deficient and more about our internal programming, our unexamined desires keeping us on this like relentless hamster wheel.
That's a good way to put it.
And it's not like this observation is totally new, even beyond Seneca. I see some fascinating modern echoes of this whole idea, simplicity versus complexity, the need to shed the unnecessary.
Like what?
Well, think about Henry David Thoreau's Walden. It feels like a perfect, almost poetic parallel to Seneca's critique of superfluity, don't you think?
Absolutely, the intentional living experiment.
His deliberate choice to live simply at Walden Pond, it directly highlights making a conscious choice to focus on essentials over just constant material accumulation.
Cutting through the noise.
And he points out something quite poignant, actually. He says, a man, any man, will go considerably out of his way to pick up a silver dollar. But here are golden words. And yet we learn to read only as far as easy reading.
That stings a little.
Doesn't it? He's lamenting how we often prioritize the tangible, often fleeting material, gain the silver dollar over wisdom, over deeper understanding, the golden words of life's real lessons. It's a powerful indictment of misdirected attention.
Both Seneca and Thoreau are essentially saying the same thing, just centuries apart. They're advocating for a deliberate redirection of our attention, our energy.
Right.
Thoreau chose a physical withdrawal to simplify his life, forcing himself to confront what was truly essential. His experiment really demonstrated that much of what society deems necessary is, in fact, superfluous. It consumes precious time and energy that could be better invested, maybe, in intellectual or spiritual pursuits.
He was kind of living Seneca's philosophy, even if he wasn't consciously quoting him.
Exactly. It shows the universal resonance of the idea.
And if we jump even more recently, in a completely different context, what about Marie Kondo? Tidying up.
Ah, the KonMari method, sparking joy.
Right. While her methods are focused on physical possessions, her whole approach discarding items based on whether they spark joy, it resonates so strongly with Seneca's call to shed superfluities to make space for what truly matters.
That connection is definitely there.
She even observes that people can become increasingly irritable and tense when they're constantly discarding stuff without a clear mindset, without knowing why they're doing it. That underlines the internal struggle, the emotional weight Seneca talks about. You know, this idea of ruthless tidying for physical things, like Kondo suggests. It really strikes me as a modern echo of Seneca's call to be ruthless with our time.
Right.
But is it a perfect parallel? Aren't there differences when you move from actual clutter to the more abstract idea of wasted time?
Yeah.
Getting rid of a sweater feels so much more definitive, you know?
That's a really perceptive question, and the distinction is worth exploring. You're right, discarding a sweater is concrete. It's gone.
Yeah.
But while Kondo's method deals with external objects, its deeper power, I think, lies in how it forces an internal discernment. Asking, does this spark joy? Pushes us beyond mere utility. It makes us consider emotional, even spiritual value.
Okay, I see that.
And in that sense, it absolutely parallels Seneca. He wants us to ask, does this pursuit, this distraction, this relationship truly enrich my life, or is it merely consuming it?
So it's the process of discernment that's similar.
Exactly. The difference, perhaps, is in the tangibility, like you said. Discarding a habit of mind, or an unexamined ambition, or a time-wasting pattern that's far more challenging than tossing out old clothes.
Much harder.
Yet what's fascinating is how both Seneca and Kondo, centuries apart, different methods, point to this deliberate, active process, discernment, letting go, not just passively accumulating stuff or complaining about being busy.
An active choice.
It's a conscious choice to simplify and focus on what truly resonates. Kondo provides a physical manifestation, almost, of Seneca's internal mandate.
So it really does boil down to where our attention goes, doesn't it? What we choose to focus on.
Fundamentally.
And Seneca truly drives this home when he talks about the mind's role. Its pivotal role in all this. He says, it is the mind that creates our wealth, and this goes with us into exile. And in the harshest desert places, it finds sufficient to nourish the body and revels.
That's such a core Stoic statement and hugely relevant today.
It's not about money in the bank at all. It's about an inner capacity, right?
Absolutely. It raises that critical question for us. How does our internal state, our mindset, our perspective dictate our experience of life's abundance or scarcity, regardless of what's happening externally?
Regardless of circumstances.
Yeah. If the mind truly creates our wealth, then genuine prosperity isn't about what we own. It's about our inner capacity to find sufficiency, to find contentment, maybe even to revel, as Seneca puts it, even when things are tough.
Even in the harshest desert places.
It means our freedom, our fulfillment, they're always accessible right here, right now. They're not dependent on external factors like how much money we have or our social status or even where we physically are.
That's incredibly empowering, actually.
It is. The external world in this view becomes almost like a canvas or a reflection of our internal state. A mind that is disciplined, clear, focused on essential virtues. It can transform even adversity into an opportunity for growth, for finding profound inner richness. That's a radical redefinition of wealth.
Okay, so if the mind is the creator of our true wealth, then cultivating that inner landscape, that mental clarity, it becomes absolutely paramount, doesn't
It's
it?
a whole game, really.
And this, fittingly, brings us to what seems like the most potent antidote to all that wasted time Seneca talks about: cultivating presence and awareness.
Being here now.
This idea of the power of now, being truly present, we hear a lot about it today, thanks in no small part to people like Eckhart Tolle.
He really brought it into the mainstream consciousness.
In his big books, The Power of Now and A New Earth, Tolle explicitly links so much of our suffering and what he calls unconscious living.
The default state for many.
He links it directly to the unobserved mind, that incessant voice in the head.
The inner narrator that never shuts up.
Right. And he says quite pointedly, to be free of time is to be free of the psychological need of past for your identity and future for your fulfillment.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
It feels like such a direct, almost crystalline link to Seneca's argument, doesn't it?
Okay.
That we waste our lives by not truly inhabiting the present moment.
It absolutely is a direct link. Tolle basically provides a modern psychological framework for what Seneca observed empirically over 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
Tolle's work highlights how much of our suffering, that feeling of life slipping away, stems from our psychological entanglement with time.
Entanglement with time. How so?
Well, either with past events clinging to regrets, grievances, old identities, or with future anxieties, constantly chasing goals, worrying about outcomes, always expecting fulfillment to arrive later.
Right. Always living in the then or the when, never the now.
Precisely. This mental time travel prevents us from truly engaging with the actuality of the present moment. He references the Buddha's concept of tathata.
Ta-ta-ta.
Yeah, often translated as the suchness of life, or simply reality as it is in this moment. Tolle argues that our ego's constant opposition to the suchness, always resisting reality, wanting things to be different than they are right now, that's a core feature of unconscious living.
And that resistance creates negativity.
It's the very root of negativity and unhappiness, according to Tolle. To be totally in the grip of the ego, creating suffering without even recognizing it, that is the essence of wasting life, viewed from this present moment perspective.
So when Seneca is critiquing people consumed by ambition or greed or trivial pursuits, he's essentially describing people living entirely in that psychological future or past. He's talking about what Tolle later identifies as being caught in the ego's cycle of unexamined thought and emotion.
Exactly. We're lost in our internal narratives, our stories about past hurts or future hopes, and we constantly miss the actual moment unfolding right here, right now.
That psychological need for identity from the past or fulfillment from the future, as Tolle puts it, it makes true presence impossible.
It really does. When we are always somewhere else in our minds, the present moment, which is the only moment we ever truly have it, it just becomes a means to an end, a stepping stone to get somewhere else.
And that's why life feels short.
That's a huge part of it. We're never fully inhabiting it. We're always preparing for life or maybe remembering it, but rarely truly living it.
Okay, so how do we start to break free? How do we escape this unconscious living and actually cultivate that elusive, powerful state of presence?
Well, this is where the practical application comes in. Our sources consistently point towards some ancient yet universally applicable tools: mindfulness and meditation.
The class.
They are classics for a reason. If we connect this to that broader spectrum of human wisdom we talked about, these ancient practices offer concrete methods for achieving the kind of present moment awareness Seneca advocates for.
Okay, give us some examples.
Well, take Buddhist meditation, described in texts like the Dhammapada. Techniques like anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing.
Right, focusing on the breath.
It's not just about breathing, though. It's about systematically focusing your attention on each inhale, each exhale. Maybe noticing the sensation, maybe counting the breaths. The why behind it is crucial.
That's him.
By anchoring your attention to the breath, which is always happening right now, in the present, you gently pull the mind away from its habitual wandering, away from past regrets, future anxieties.
It's like an anchor in the storm of thoughts.
Exactly. It's a direct route to clearing the mind, minimizing suffering by detaching from those disturbing thoughts, and maybe even understanding the true impermanent nature of things. Similarly, using mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum can serve as a focal point to still the mind, helping it move beyond that incessant internal chatter.
And it's not just Buddhism, right? Yoga practices, too.
Definitely. Rooted in texts like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Patanjali encourages engaging in yoga with determination and faith. Crucially, abandoning all material desires born of mental speculation and controlling the senses by the mind.
So it's much more than just the physical postures, the asanas.
Oh, much more. It's a profound mental and spiritual discipline. This disciplined approach leads to what's called an inwardness of the sense consciousness.
Meaning turning attention inward.
Yes, turning attention away from just external sensory input towards your internal experience. This, in turn, helps dissolve the obstacles to progress, as Patanjali puts it, ultimately leading to clarity, serenity. It's a deliberate, systematic turning inward to master your own internal environment.
It sounds like these practices are fundamentally about shifting our mode from that perpetual state of doing
To a profound state of being, exactly. As John Kabat-Zinn puts it so simply in Wherever You Go, There You Are, meditation is about stopping and being present. That is all.
just stopping.
Just stopping, shifting into a being mode, watching the moment unfold without trying to change it, simply observing what is without judgment, without intervention. This conscious act of observation, of simply being with what is, it's profoundly transformative. It directly counters that endless external doing and internal mental noise that Seneca saw draining life away.
And this deep dive into presence, into mastering the internal world, it often leads somewhere even more profound, doesn't it? Like moving beyond the superficial ego.
It often does, recognizing what's often called the true self or the higher self.
Conversations with God, for instance, posits that the soul's ultimate purpose is simply to be and express who you really are.
A simple yet profound idea.
It also makes this fascinating observation. The major difference between you and highly evolved beings is that highly evolved beings observe more.
Observe more.
Interesting. This complete knowing, it suggests, isn't something you acquire from outside. It's something you already are an inherent state of being that becomes accessible through total, unencumbered awareness.
And this concept, shedding the ego to find the true self, it's echoed so powerfully in Theologia Germanica, that anonymous mystical text from the 14th century.
How does it put it?
It describes ascribing good things to oneself, always using I, me, mine as sin and folly, but not sin in the moralistic sense we usually think of.
More like an error.
A mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
An insight into how identifying solely with the ego obscures the deeper truth. True knowledge, the text explains, involves realizing I am not that good thing and that it is not mine.
Letting go of ownership, of ego attachment. Yes. This stripping away of the ego, of that false, limited self-identity, it leads to the best, fullest, clearest, and noblest knowledge, and the purest love. It's about relinquishing that self-centered narrative to access a deeper, more universal truth that transcends the individual ego.
So pulling all these threads together, from Seneca's Stoicism to modern spirituality like Tolle, ancient mysticism like Theologia Germanica, it feels like a remarkably consistent message is emerging. Across millennia, across cultures.
What's the core message you see?
That true fulfillment, a life genuinely lived rather than just endured or wasted, comes from shedding that false self, the ego's incessant demands and anxieties, and living from a place of deep, unconditioned awareness. Freedom from the chatter.
Precisely. And this shedding of the ego, this journey of self-discovery, it isn't always comfortable, is it?
Definitely not.
In fact, it often involves a radical disruption of our familiar patterns, our comfort zones. Pema Chodron in When Things Fall Apart describes the discovery of egolessness, seeing through the ego as happening precisely when all our usual schemes fall apart.
When things fall apart. Literally.
Yeah, but she frames this not as a catastrophe, but as a doorway to sanity and the unconditional goodness of humanity.
Wow. a doorway.
Meditation, she explains, helps us navigate this process. It teaches us not indulging or repressing our thoughts and emotions, just observing them. This makes us more awake in the midst of everyday chaos. It's a gradual, cumulative awakening that strengthens our ability to be present, even when life is messy, and to see beyond the ego's limited, often fearful view.
Okay, so if we're going to truly live deliberately, avoid those pitfalls of wasted time Seneca warned about, and cultivate that inner wealth of presence,
Yeah.
it means we have to become incredibly discerning, right? About what truly matters.
Discernment is absolutely key.
Seneca's call isn't just, manage your schedule better. It's to guard your time fiercely, to see it as your most valuable, totally irreplaceable possession.
Like a dragon guarding its treasure.
Exactly. He implies that choosing wisely, what we dedicate our time and, crucially, our attention to, is paramount. This isn't just about efficiency. It's about a ruthless, unwavering protection of our finite existence.
It is an active, conscious choice, and often an uncomfortable one. It demands that we don't just passively let time be taken from us by endless demands and distractions,
Which happens so easily.
but that we proactively decide where our finite energy and attention will actually go. And this requires identifying and eliminating not just the obvious external distractions, which are everywhere today,
Oh yeah. Phones, notifications, endless scrolling.
but also what you called earlier, that internal static.
Yeah.
Those subtle, often unconscious barriers we build within ourselves.
That's such a crucial distinction. Seneca, like we said, talks a lot about external distractions, chasing money, status,
The
entertainment.
superfluities.
Right. But Julia Cameron, in her book, The Artist's Way, she brings up that internal static that also keeps us from living deliberately.
The inner
Yeah. She talks about dismantling the hypercritical inner censor and perfectionist and lessening the static, the interference caused by old habits and blocks. Why? To become more receptive to creativity and ultimately just more receptive to ourselves, to our own lives.
That makes sense.
She also insightfully points out how artists, and really anyone trying to do meaningful work, often procrastinate out of fear or by waiting for the right mood. She emphasizes separating your mood from the action, from productivity, from just doing the thing.
That's huge. Don't wait for inspiration. Just start.
Right. And this internal noise, these self-imposed limits, they could be just as insidious, maybe even more insidious than the external distractions, wouldn't you say? It's like the enemy within.
Absolutely. Our internal landscape often dictates how susceptible we even are to those external distractions. If our minds are constantly filled with self-doubt or fear of judgment or this ceaseless need for validation from others,
We're much more likely to get pulled off course.
exactly, we're far less likely to make those deliberate, courageous choices about our time and energy. Cameron's static is really the psychological equivalent of Seneca's superfluities. It's internal clutter that prevents clarity, prevents intentional action, prevents connection to our deepest creative impulses or our core values.
So both she and Seneca are pushing for a conscious clearing out, both inner and outer space.
Yes, recognizing that one deeply influences the other. True discernment means looking inward just as much, if not more, than looking outward.
It's almost like trying to get back to a state of, like, original clarity, pristine. It reminds me of that concept of the uncarved block from Benjamin Hoff's The Tao of Pooh.
Pooh and Taoism, a great combination.
Right, that concept represents simplicity, purity, clarity before all the external influences come along and complicate everything. The great secret in Taoism, Hoff explains, is that nothing is something and something is really nothing at all.
Okay, that sounds deceptively simple. What does it mean in this context?
I think it ties into shedding unnecessary complexities, both material stuff and mental stuff. Getting back to an essential state, recognizing our inherent nature before the world imposes all its demands and labels and expectations.
Resisting the urge to overcomplicate.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's truly fascinating here is just how many diverse traditions across thousands of years talk about this return to an original state of purity or uncarvedness. How? By actively removing those external impositions and that internal clutter.
So the Taoist uncarved block is about.
It's about recognizing inherent worth and simplicity, resisting the urge to overly define, overly strive, overcomplicate. It's about being genuine, natural, which aligns perfectly with Seneca's argument against chasing superfluities and those artificial desires manufactured by society.
The fewer layers of conditioning.
The clearer our perception of what truly matters becomes. It's about honoring the wisdom that's already within us before we cover it all up.
And part of that shedding, that process of rigorous discernment, it must involve tuning into some kind of inner wisdom, some guidance, right?
Yeah.
So many spiritual traditions emphasize this as the compass for a deliberate life.
Absolutely, that inner knowing.
The Way of a Pilgrim,
Yeah.
that classic 19th century Russian spiritual text, it highlights this journey. The pilgrim dedicates himself to constant, unceasing prayer. He's explicitly seeking a love for God and trying to find peace and silence for his spiritual practice.
A deliberate withdrawal.
His entire existence becomes this intentional withdrawal from the external noise of the world, specifically so he can hear a deeper internal truth, a divine guidance.
And that intentional withdrawal, seeking internal quiet, it's absolutely key. St. Teresa of Avila, in her profound work Interior Castle, she goes even deeper.
How so?
She argues we can't truly know ourselves unless we seek to know God. By contemplating his greatness and his purity, she explains, we gain this clear reflection of our own baseness and foulness.
That sounds harsh.
It sounds harsh, but the point isn't self-condemnation. It leads to profound humility, seeing ourselves clearly without illusion. And that humility fuels spiritual progress. She speaks of souls reaching a state where they are without consciousness and has no power to think, completely died to the world so that it may live more fully in God.
Died to the world.
It signifies a deliberate, profound withdrawal from worldly distractions, not as an escape from reality, but as a path towards a deeper, more integrated engagement with ultimate reality, guided by that interconnection.
So it's finding guidance within.
Yes, and Conversations with God reinforces this idea too. It says, all wisdom asks you to do is trust the process, that is, trust God. Or if you wish, trust yourself, for thou art God. Remember, we are all one.
Trust yourself because you are the divine, in essence.
That's the implication. A deep, profound trust in your own inner guidance, once you manage to quiet the external noise and the internal static, it reveals the divine spark within.
But this path, this journey of deep discernment, inner listening, it's not always easy, is it? Especially when we consider, the deep-seated emotional stuff, the psychological issues that can really plague us.
No, it's definitely not easy, and that brings up a huge challenge.
What about that formidable challenge of self-centeredness or unexamined emotions, especially the ones rooted in past wounds, past trauma?
This raises a really important question, one that Seneca, for all his brilliance, maybe didn't articulate in the modern psychological terms we use today.
Which is?
How can someone truly live deliberately if their inner turmoil, their past wounds, are constantly pulling them away from the present moment? Or if those wounds distort their perception of what truly matters in the first place?
Right, if you're constantly reacting from a place of hurt.
Exactly. The Divine Conspiracy Continued speaks directly to this. It describes obsession with self as a profound result of unaddressed wounds. This leads to being imprisoned by our own self-attention.
Imprisoned by self-attention.
It's a vicious cycle. Our focus stays perpetually inward on our own pain, our own perceived flaws. And this self-focus prevents authentic engagement with the world, with other people, with any kind of higher purpose. It just fosters anger and desperation in relationships.
That makes a lot of sense.
And even more acutely, think about Bessel van der Kolk's work in The Body Keeps the Score. Groundbreaking stuff on trauma.
Yeah, incredible book.
He explains how profound trauma can literally make living in the present incredibly difficult, almost impossible sometimes. It can cause a loss of imagination, a loss of purpose. He details those inner struggles that completely prevent deliberate living, things like chronic numbing, unpredictable irritability and rage, fundamental difficulties with intimacy, with trust.
These are massive internal barriers.
They're profound, often invisible barriers. And they make Seneca's call for deliberate living incredibly challenging for many people. It really highlights that often there's a necessary prerequisite of deep healing, of intense self-awareness, before true intentionality can even take root. It's not just a philosophical choice. For many, it's a profound therapeutic journey first. Hashtag the journey of self-discovery and inner transformation.
That's a really crucial and kind of sobering point, acknowledging that these inner wounds, these struggles, they make living deliberately so much harder.
It adds a layer of complexity Seneca didn't fully map out.
It really underscores that this isn't just about, managing your calendar better or making a few conscious choices. It's about a profound, often really arduous journey of self-discovery, inner transformation.
A lifelong process for most of us.
And at its very heart, this journey often seems intertwined with that ancient imperative, know thyself. And, by extension, maybe knowing the divine or ultimate reality.
This connection between self-knowledge and some kind of higher ultimate reality. It's foundational across an astonishing range of philosophies and spiritual traditions.
Haiku.
Well, take Plotinus, the great Neoplatonist philosopher. In his work, The Enneads, he describes this singular, unifying reality, one nature, which is intellect, all beings, and the truth.
Intellect. Does he just mean being smart?
No, not at all. When he talks about intellect, he means something far beyond our ordinary day-to-day rational thought. It's more like a divine universal mind, the realm of perfect forms, ultimate reason, absolute truth. It encompasses all true being.
Okay, that's a big concept.
It is. And even above this intellect, he posited the one, or the good, a transcendent first God that's beyond all description, the ultimate unknowable source of absolutely everything.
Wow.
So his profound point is that our quest for self-knowledge isn't just about understanding our individual psychology or little ego. It's about striving to connect our finite minds to this universal intellect and ultimately perhaps towards that mysterious one. It's a spiritual journey of return, of reunion.
I feel like I see that echoed beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita too.
Yeah.
That foundational Hindu text.
Absolutely, a cornerstone.
It highlights a similar journey of transcendental realization for those interested in knowing what is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth.
Fundamental questions.
And it interestingly contrasts devotional service, like a path of loving surrender, as maybe being an easier, more direct route to self-realization than just dry mental speculation.
Heart versus head, in a way.
Kind of. And it also strongly emphasizes controlling the senses by the mind to abandon those material desires, which resonates directly with Seneca's critique of the insatiable soul.
Right, a perfect match. It's a very pragmatic guide to self-mastery, to inner liberation.
And this idea of a universal truth, some common core of spiritual experience that you can discover through looking inward, regardless of your specific religion.
That's Aldous Huxley's perennial philosophy.
Right. In his book, he lays out this idea of a common core of mystical experience at the base of all the world's major religions.
Underneath the doctrines and dogmas.
Exactly. He suggests that while the specific paths, the rituals, the beliefs might differ wildly on the surface, the ultimate destination, self-knowledge, connection to the divine, whatever you call it, is universally shared. It's a testament to that enduring human quest for meaning beyond just the material world.
So this isn't just a collection of separate teachings then. It's pointing towards some kind of universal process, an awakening that underlies human experience.
That's how it feels. Marianne Williamson, in A Return to Love, she frames this awakening in a really compassionate way. She says, you awaken to your own perfection through your desire to see the perfection in someone else.
Seeing the divine in others helps you see it in yourself.
Kind of. It emphasizes choosing to see things differently, choosing love over fear, and asking for a miracle, which she defines as a shift in perception whenever that old familiar darkness or negativity starts to creep in.
It's an active choice, a compassionate engagement.
With ourselves and with others, seeing that divine spark in everyone.
And Conversations with God also speaks powerfully to this ongoing process of awakening. It frames it as the promise of the little soul, a metaphor for each of us on our journey back to realizing who we are.
A work in progress.
Exactly. The continuous work in progress of both God or the universe and humanity. And it offers very direct, practical advice. Observe, observe, observe.
Observe what?
Everything. Yourself, others, life unfolding. Observation is presented as the key to increasing the speed of our personal evolution. It encourages us to recognize that you too are an event. You are a human, being. You are a process.
A human being, a process. I like that.
It makes self-discovery not some static state you finally achieve, like getting a certificate. It's a dynamic, unfolding, continuous journey of becoming. It's about being fully present in our own evolution.
And this evolution, this increase of consciousness, Teilhard de Chardin, the French philosopher and priest, he explored this with such breathtaking scope in The Phenomenon of Man.
A truly visionary work.
He describes human evolution not just biologically but spiritually as a single process with a critical point, a threshold leading to increased consciousness.
A leap in awareness.
Yeah. He talked about a reversal, or more exactly, a radical perfectioning of the ways of life by the operation of a powerful instrument of evolution, the coalescence upon itself of an entire phylum.
Okay, coalescence upon itself of an entire phylum? That's dense. What's he getting at?
He's using phylum to mean humanity as a whole, as a collective entity with a shared evolutionary path. He envisions humanity folding in on itself, reflecting, becoming more self-aware as a species. This leads to a convergence, culminating, he believed, in a state of universal love and an even greater increase of consciousness.
So individual awakening contributes to a collective awakening.
That's the idea, is this grand, almost cosmic view where our individual journeys, our inner work, contribute to something much, much larger, a collective spiritual evolution of the entire species.
What's truly fascinating about Chardin's perspective is how this increase of consciousness isn't just individual, but presented as a collective, almost an evolutionary imperative.
Right, like it's where we're headed.
He suggests personal transformation isn't solely for your own personal gain, but it actively contributes to the unfolding of this universal love. It aligns individual purpose with a vast cosmic one. It's a really optimistic vision where our deliberate living, our inner work, actively participates in the evolution of consciousness itself.
But this journey, this self-discovery, this inner transformation, it isn't always smooth sailing, is it? We touch on wounds, but even beyond that, embracing challenges, even suffering, seems crucial. Unavoidable, maybe?
Often seems that way. Growth rarely happens in the comfort zone.
James Baldwin, in his incredible essay collection, The Fire Next Time, offers such a powerful insight into this. He states really profoundly that people who cannot suffer can never grow up, can never discover who they are.
Wow. Cannot suffer, cannot grow up.
He argues that surviving life's worst experiences, enduring profound hardship, it allows you to stop being controlled by fear. Bitterness, he suggests, can even become palatable, and hatred becomes too heavy a sack to carry. You learn to let it go through the experience itself.
A transformation through fire.
It's this incredibly powerful insight into growth through adversity. This transformation of suffering into resilience, into self-knowledge. It speaks to the incredible depth, the complexity of human experience. And when you connect Baldwin's insights directly back to Seneca's call for a well-invested life, it creates this unexpected but really profound link.
How so?
Well, Seneca wants us to invest our time well, to live deliberately. And Baldwin suggests that sometimes the most profound investment we can possibly make, the deepest way we truly discover who we are, is by enduring and growing through hardship. It's an investment in resilience, in character, in true self-knowledge, forged in difficulty.
That's a powerful connection. It reframes suffering not just as something to be avoided, but potentially as a crucible for becoming.
Exactly. And broadening this out a bit, it's not just about stoically enduring suffering for its own sake. Brené Brown, in The Gifts of Imperfection, she talks about the liberating power of giving ourselves permission to fall apart and be imperfect.
Embracing vulnerability.
Yes. Seeing it as a path to genuine connection and strength. She highlights that the wholehearted journey is not the path of least resistance. It's a path of consciousness and choice.
Consciousness and choice, even in imperfection.
It resonates with Baldwin, suggesting that our vulnerability, our capacity to suffer, they aren't weaknesses to be avoided at all costs. They're actually doorways to deeper humanity, greater self-awareness, more authentic connection with others. It's through accepting our imperfections, facing our struggles head-on, that we become more fully human.
And then Rollo May, the existential psychologist in The Courage to Create, he takes this even further. He makes this critical distinction about what it even means to be human.
What's the distinction?
He emphasizes that in human beings, courage is necessary to make being and becoming possible. He observes, and this is brilliant, the acorn becomes an oak by means of automatic growth. No commitment is necessary.
Right, it just happens.
But a man or woman becomes fully human only by his or her choices and his or her commitment to them. People attain worth and dignity by the multitude of decisions they make from day to day. These decisions require courage.
Decisions require courage. Daily decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, Rollo May is saying that this courage to create ourselves or to live deliberately, like Seneca urges, it's fundamentally ontological.
Ontological, meaning related to our being.
Exactly. It's essential to our very nature as human beings. Unlike that acorn that automatically grows into an oak without any conscious effort, we humans must choose and commit to becoming fully ourselves, to living a life that reflects our values, our true potential. This continuous act of courageous choice of becoming, that's what defines our humanity. It's not a given. It's a conscious, deliberate creation, day by day. #, embracing mortality and living each day fully.
That powerful idea, courage, actively becoming, choosing our very being, it brings us right to the ultimate urgency that underlies Seneca's entire philosophy, doesn't it?
It really does. The bottom line.
The profound necessity of embracing mortality. And as a direct consequence, living each day fully. His whole essay on the shortness of life implicitly carries this message. A wasted life is precisely one that fails to appreciate its finite, precious nature.
That acute awareness of our finite time is perhaps the single most powerful motivator for deliberate living. You see it across cultures, across spiritual traditions.
Where else do we see it?
Well, the Quran, for instance, states with stark clarity, for every nation there is an appointed span of time. When their time arrives, they can neither delay it nor bring it forward, even by an instant.
Wow, no negotiation possible.
It's this universal decree that underscores the fixed, immutable nature of life's duration. It profoundly emphasizes the importance of how we use the time we've been given. It also speaks of the soul at peace, returning to its Lord, implying that a peaceful acceptance of mortality often comes from a life well lived, a life that has embraced its purpose.
And thinking about life cycles, the vastness of existence, Joseph Campbell, in The Power of Myth, he offers a really compelling perspective when he discusses reincarnation. He suggests that you are more than you think you are.
More than just this one lifetime, this one ego.
Exactly. He explains that there are dimensions of your being and a potential for realization and consciousness that are not included in your concept of yourself. This perspective that our current life is just a fractional inkling of our true duper potential that also adds profound weight to how we choose to live each day, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It encourages us not just to live well in this moment, but maybe also to explore those deeper dimensions of our being.
Yeah.
To push beyond the limitations of our everyday ego, our limited self-concept.
It undeniably connects our individual actions, our conscious choices in this lifetime, to a much larger, continuous narrative, whether you see that as across lifetimes or just within the vastness of the cosmos.
And this search for meaning, for purpose, then becomes absolutely central to living deliberately. It elevates our daily choices beyond just routine, beyond just getting by.
So when we synthesize all these big, expansive spiritual ideas, how do they translate into finding meaning and purpose in a way that Seneca, with his practical Stoic wisdom, would actually approve of?
That's the key question, bridging the abstract and the practical.
I look at someone like Black Elk, the Oglala Lakota holy man. His story, recounted in Black Elk Speaks, it's just incredible.
A powerful narrative.
His life, from receiving that profound vision of the sacred hoop of his people to the immense burden of preserving and eventually sharing that sacred knowledge, it just reflects a life dedicated to a higher purpose, something far beyond personal gain or even just survival.
Especially given the context of what was happening to his people.
Exactly. His spiritual resilience in the face of such immense suffering, witnessing the destruction of his people's way of life, experiencing deep hardship, deep mourning, yet still finding the courage to fulfill his vision and share his wisdom. It's a powerful testament to finding and living a life of deep collective purpose.
It really feels like Black Elk's journey embodies Seneca's ideal, a life lived with unwavering purpose, unwavering commitment, even when facing overwhelming odds and personal tragedy.
It absolutely does, beautifully so.
Yeah.
And this commitment to purpose, it often transcends narrow self-interest, doesn't it? It becomes a selfless act.
Yes, moving beyond the ego's concerns.
Like we explored in our previous deep dive on love, drawing from C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce, love is described there as far more than just the craving to be loved.
Which is often how we experience it initially.
Right, but true love is presented as a genuine, selfless, outward-focused love that seeks the good of others. This speaks to a profound purpose that goes beyond our own egoic desires, mirroring the outward focus Seneca subtly advocates when he critiques purely self-serving pursuits.
And Theologia Germanica clarifies this essential link between love, knowledge, and purpose. It states unequivocally that knowledge profits nothing without love.
Knowledge alone isn't enough.
Not at all. It declares, if there be true love along with his knowledge, he cannot but cleave to God and forsake all that is not God or of him, and hate it and fight against it.
Hate it and fight against it. That sounds intense.
It's not about literal aggression. It's about fierce spiritual discernment, where genuine love becomes the guiding principle that transforms knowledge from mere information into meaningful, purposeful, virtuous action. Love directs the knowing.
Okay, that makes sense. Which brings us right back full circle to the vital importance of total awareness, of inhabiting the present moment.
Where it all happens.
Eckhart Tolle, building on his earlier insights, he explains that when you have had your first few glimpses of the timeless state of consciousness, you begin to move back and forth between the dimensions of time and presence.
Dipping your toes into presence.
And he makes this really interesting practical point. Success in this journey isn't necessarily about being present 24/7. Success is simply to know that you are not present.
Ah, the awareness of being unaware.
Exactly. That profound awareness of not being present, of being caught up in thought or distraction, that is the crucial first step towards reclaiming presence. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about cultivating observation.
It's that critical self-observation that allows for the shift from unconscious reaction to conscious choice.
And Sam Harris, in Waking Up, he explores the very nature of consciousness itself. He delves into scientific insights, including studies of split-brain patients, showing just how complex our sense of self really is.
Challenging our assumptions about who I am.
Right. His work suggests the profound complexity of what constitutes the self and what we typically perceive as normal waking consciousness. This implicitly encourages a deeper inquiry, maybe even a scientific one, into the nature of our own awareness. Why? As a path to living more fully.
By understanding the intricate, sometimes illusory workings of our own minds,
We can better direct our attention, our intentions, and thereby fulfill Seneca's ancient call to live a well-invested, truly conscious life. It's about peeling back the layers to find what's actually there, beneath the noise, and then living from that place. Hashtag outro. So we've really journeyed, haven't we, from that restless modern feeling of busyness back to the profound depths of ancient Stoic wisdom,
woven through diverse spiritual and philosophical traditions.
only to land firmly back here in the present moment. Seneca's powerful, timeless message from On the Shortness of Life, it just cuts through the noise, doesn't it?
It really does.
Life's perceived brevity, that feeling of it rushing by, isn't some fundamental deficiency of time itself. It's a direct consequence of unexamined living, of constant distraction, and a fundamental failure to ruthlessly prioritize what truly matters.
And we've seen how this radical perspective isn't just Seneca being grumpy, it's echoed with striking consistency across Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Taoism,
Articulated in modern spiritual teachings by people like Tully.
and even supported by insights from contemporary psychology. The consistent thread, the universal call, seems to be, wake up. Consciously engage with your existence. Recognize the profound power of where you place your attention.
So for you listening right now, the key takeaways from this deep dive are, I think, really profound, but also intensely practical.
Definitely actionable.
First, the paramount importance of mindful presence. That deliberate act of truly being here, now, to authentically experience and inhabit your life rather than just letting it blur past.
Second, the absolute necessity of discerning essentials from superfluities and having the courage, as Seneca, Thoreau, even Kondo suggest, to actively discard the latter, whether that's physical clutter, draining relationships, or just corrosive mental static.
Third, recognizing the ongoing, often challenging journey of self-discovery and inner transformation, seeing that as the very foundation of a well-lived life. Realizing that growth often comes through embracing challenges and through getting a deeper understanding of your true unconditioned self.
And finally, the profound impact of embracing our limited time. Not with dread or regret, but with a fierce sense of urgency and deliberate purpose. This means living intentionally, protecting your focus fiercely from all those internal and external demands, and dedicating your precious energy to what genuinely resonates with your deepest values, your highest aspirations. It's about living a life that is truly owned by you.
You know, Seneca argues so vehemently against merely existing in a stream of time, just being passively carried along by whatever happens. He insisted on owning and actively inhabiting each moment.
Taking control of your inner world.
Given the constant pull of digital distractions today, the endless cascade of notifications, the relentless external demands, perhaps the most radical act of deliberate living now isn't just trying to manage our time better. Maybe it's about truly reclaiming our attention.
Attention as the real currency.
Yeah. It's about consciously transforming your existence into a fully conscious, deeply meaningful, and truly well-invested life. So as you reflect on all this, maybe ask yourself, what part of your precious attention will you reclaim today?